What drives a man to abandon the sword, after mastering it so completely that no one can defeat him? What does it take to transform from a reckless killer into a philosopher of peace and self-discipline? The name Miyamoto Musashi echoes through the centuries, not merely as a master of the blade, but as a symbol of evolution. He was a ronin, a duelist, a warrior who fought over 60 duels without a single defeat. But he was also a thinker, a seeker, and ultimately a sage. His story isn't just about swordsmanship. It's about transformation. It's about a life forged in fire and tempered in wisdom. So how did Musashi evolve from a brute youth driven by violence to a disciplined master who wrote one of the most revered strategy texts in history? Let's dive deep into this extraordinary journey. Welcome to The Unfolding Journey, the channel where we unravel timeless stories of personal growth, transformation, and the deeper layers of history's most fascinating figures. Whether it's warriors, sages, philosophers, or rebels, here we explore the internal paths that shaped the outer legends. If that sounds like your kind of journey, you're in the right place. A violent beginning. Miyamoto Musashi was born in 1584, during Japan's turbulent Sengoku period, a time of almost constant warfare. The young Musashi, orphaned or estranged from his parents at an early age, grew up in a world where violence was not just common, it was expected. He was raised in the harsh discipline of the sword, taught the ways of combat by his uncle, and from a very young age, Musashi was obsessed with martial prowess. At just 13 years old, Musashi fought his first duel, and won. His opponent was a grown samurai named Ichi-ryu. Musashi struck him down with a wooden sword and killed him. It was a shocking act for a child, but it set the tone for Musashi's early years. Aggressive, fearless, and brutal. In these years, Musashi was not yet a philosopher or a master of strategy. He was a brute force, relying on strength, speed, and audacity. His early victories were often due to sheer recklessness and psychological intimidation. He would show up late to duels to throw his opponents off balance. He fought with unconventional tactics, sometimes with 2 swords, sometimes with none. He was a chaos agent in a world that respected order. But behind that wild exterior, something deeper was forming. The duel at Ganryu Island, a turning point. The most famous of Musashi's duels, and possibly the most symbolic, was against Sasaki Kojiro, known as the Demon of the Western Provinces. Kojiro was everything Musashi was not: elegant, refined, and methodical. His drying pole technique with a long sword was legendary. The duel took place in 1612 on Ganryu Island. Musashi, once again, arrived late. But this time, he had carved a wooden sword from or while on the boat ride. With this crude weapon, he struck down Kojiro, killing him with a single blow. To the outside world, it was another example of Musashi's cunning and brilliance. But something shifted in him that day. He didn't celebrate the victory. In fact, he reportedly walked away without even checking if Kojiro was dead. Why? Perhaps because Musashi began to understand that perfecting the sword meant more than just killing. He had reached the peak of martial ability, and he saw that there was nothing left in that path but emptiness. The slow road to mastery. After the duel with Kojiro, Musashi stopped participating in life-or-death duels. Though still active in military campaigns and duels of skill, his approach began to change. He immersed himself in study, not just of swordsmanship, but of painting, calligraphy, sculpture, and Zen Buddhism. He saw all of these disciplines as connected, as manifestations of the same underlying truth. He traveled widely, taking on very few students and avoiding fame. He lived as a hermit, often in caves or remote dwellings. This was not retreat, it was refinement. The brute was fading, and the sage was emerging. During this period, Musashi developed his 2-sword style, Nitten Ichi-ryu, the school of the strategy of 2 heavens as one. But he also began to internalize the deeper principles of strategy, not just how to win, but why to fight, when to fight, and whether fighting was even necessary. The Musashi of this period was not only a master of martial technique, but a student of the way, what the Japanese called do, the path of self-cultivation. The Book of 5 Rings. In 1645, just weeks before his death, Musashi wrote his magnum opus, The Book of 5 Rings, Go Rin no Sho. It is not a book about dueling. It is a book about perception, mindset, and the eternal truths of strategy. He divides the book into 5 elements: earth, water, fire, wind, and void, each representing a different aspect of mastery. Earth symbolizes foundation, stability, discipline, basics. Water represents adaptability, fluidity in tactics and thought. Fire stands for battle, the heat of engagement, energy, focus. Wind reflects the styles of others, understanding your enemy, perspective. Void, the most profound, signifies emptiness, not as nothingness, but as clarity beyond thought. Here we see the full transformation of Musashi. The brute who once killed without remorse is now writing about harmony, timing, and seeing the world without the distortion of ego. The book is not just about combat, it's about life, perception, and purpose. It is a mirror of Musashi's own journey from chaos to clarity. The inner battle. Musashi's evolution is not just external, it is deeply psychological. In the beginning, he is driven by fear and pride, seeking to prove himself through violence. But over time, his real opponent becomes the self. He learns that true mastery is not defeating others. It is overcoming one's own illusions. This concept is echoed in Zen thought, which Musashi studied. In Zen, the enemy is not outside. It is attachment, ignorance, ego. Musashi's later writings show a profound awareness of this. He speaks of seeing clearly, of acting without hesitation, of finding the void. It is important to understand that Musashi didn't change overnight. His journey took decades, and it was filled with pain, isolation, and introspection. But it is this journey that makes him not just a great swordsman, but a timeless teacher. From warrior to wisdom. Today, Musashi is a cultural icon in Japan and beyond. His life has inspired novels, films, video games, and business strategies. But often, his true message is lost. People focus on the undefeated swordsman, the killer. But the real Musashi, the Musashi who matters, is the one who laid down his sword and picked up a brush. The one who saw that violence without purpose is hollow. That true strength lies in clarity, adaptability, and stillness. In a world obsessed with dominance and speed, Musashi's evolution offers a different path, one of patience, reflection, and inner mastery. He teaches us that it's not where you begin that defines you, it's where you are willing to go, from brute to sage, from chaos to harmony, and that perhaps is the greatest duel of all. If Musashi's journey moved you, if you found in it a reflection of your own path, your own inner battles, then consider joining us on more journeys like this. Subscribe to The Unfolding Journey to explore the lives of warriors, mystics, and visionaries who walked the long road to self-mastery. We dive deep into transformation, not just history, because it's not just about learning who they were, it's about discovering who you might become. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep walking your path.